Bill Henderson at the First Methodist Church was a big influence on my life. He always found time to teach us about being a Christian, serving others, walking the straight path, and having a purpose in the life that you're leading. I'm not sure how he would have handled Matt, but here's how I tried to influence Matt's life. I was teaching 3rd grade, and Matt was in 2nd. He was frequently doing things he shouldn't be doing after lunch inside the school building instead of going to the playground as was required. One spring day, I caught him breaking the rules again, and this time I decided to just get right down in his face. And as I was reprimanding him, I asked, "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, you're Mrs. Vandergrift." "What do I teach?" "You teach 3rd grade." "And where will you be next year?" "I'll be in 3rd grade." "That's right. And I'll be watching your every move. In fact, when you least expect it, I might be standing behind you." A week later, Dick and I were on spring break in Florida and having dinner with friends at a seafood restaurant. And I happened to see Matt walking around the restaurant, and I decided to follow him. Sure enough, he found a vending machine and was trying to reach into the machine and get something for nothing. When he stood up and turned around, he could not believe his eyes. Mrs. Vandergrift is truly everywhere. Matt grew into a fine young man and now he's in medical school. I have this reoccurring picture of my lying on a gurney, looking up and seeing Dr. Matt behind me. "Hello, Mrs. Vandergrift, I'll be your surgeon." So, Pastor Henderson, walking the walk is not always easy, and sometimes it's just plain fun being devious. About the same time I had my experience with Matt, another teacher shared her experience with 1st grader Michael. She had given him a restroom pass, but he had been gone for a very long time. She finally went out into the hall to look for him. She not only saw him walking back, but she could hear him as well. He clearly stuffed his pants with paper towels, and she could hear rustle, rustle, rustle as he walked. "Everything all right, Michael?" she asked. He stuttered and stammered, and he said, "You see, Mrs. Bedrow, I lost control of my penis." In the teacher's lounge, we all had a big laugh, and one teacher offered, "You know, that seems to be a common problem today." I don't know what Miss Smith would have said, but the lesson seems to be that men frequently will. I think I'll let you define it. I was having show and tell with the 1st graders years ago. Alex was sharing how he spent the weekend with his father, who had taken him shopping and bought him new school clothes, including a pair of socks he proudly showed the class. I like to allow a little question and answer time during show and tell, so one child asked where Alex's father lived. Alex replied his father had an apartment over in Columbus. Another child said, "Are they separated?" Alex responded by saying, "Yes, I have one on my right foot and one on my left." The lesson I learned is when you question somebody, make sure they understand just what it is you're asking. I have enjoyed being a volunteer 3rd grade tutor in an elementary school near our retirement home. Dick, my husband, gets way too much enjoyment out of telling this story. I arrived at school about the same time as a swarm of kids were all trying to get through the front door all at the same time. One little gentleman assessed the situation, opened the door with one hand, held the kids back with the other, and announced, "Let the old lady go first." Mrs. Temple would have been proud. Besides, we are old, so get over it. Since Roy brought Dick into this, I should tell you something about our lives. We've been reasonably happily married for 26 years. I like to suggest that our marital bliss is the result of are both being in love with the same man. Early in our relationship, Dick gave me a surprise birthday party. He came into my class dressed as a clown and proceeded to treat the kids to a story about my childhood given to him by my mother and Rita Matthews. He led him to the game of bingo using Valentine candy, and they later had cupcakes. We were married a few months later. I was on the playground the following fall, and one little boy came running up and saying, "Mrs. Preston, Mrs. Preston." One of the kids I was talking with stopped him and said that I had gotten married and was no longer Mrs. Preston. The boy wanted to know who I was married to, and Chad replied, "Well, she married that clown." I did not realize then how true that would be. Lesson: if you want to be happy, put a clown in your life. Dick does have a learning problem in that reading is difficult for him, and he's not embarrassed one bit talking about it. This issue forced him to learn his lessons in non-reading ways. He actually finished high school and college without ever reading a book. I actually think he's ADD gifted, but don't tell him that. I tell you this because our Fairfield Library played a major role in my life. As a child, I would spend Saturdays reading all I could and then check out as many books as I could carry to take home. Over the years, I've sent in a few small contributions to the library, and a few years ago, during their fund drive, I sent a check. Contributors' names were placed on bricks, so one day a volunteer called and asked if I wanted my name on a brick, and I said no. On one of our visits, Rita could not wait to show me the wall of bricks where there's a brick for Richard Vandergrift. When I saw it, I blurted out, "Hell, he doesn't even read!" The volunteer meant to ask that I want Joyce and Richard on the brick. The lesson I learned is, things are never as they may seem to be. Before I close, I want to share one more life lesson with you. I had two very handsome older brothers, Bill and Don, and all my life, I wanted a sister. I wanted someone to confide in and someone who knew everything about me and cared about me. Someone who remembered my birthday and other special occasions. And a few years ago, I got this birthday card from Rita Matthews that read, "You're like a sister to me." I spent over 60 years wishing for something I had all along. So the lesson there is, so much of what we wish for, we already have. And thank you, Rita, and thank all of you for many, many great memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. That was wonderful, and you're not second choice. We want to present to you a token of this evening for you to remember. And in the Navy, they say, put this on your I Love Me wall.
Thank you so much. That's lovely.